What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Oh my gosh, coming back at you with another video. Today I got a little something about the whitetail, about my experiences with the whitetail, the great one grind in general. I'm on the grind. I'm like 1,200 kills into the grind ish, just about 1,200. And I took a break recently. I recently started up again, and I kind of have been doing some experimenting as far as, as you've probably heard, the whitetail, something's wrong with them. Something's wrong with the bucks. The bucks don't respawn the way they're supposed to. Does come back as bucks, bucks come back as does. I've pretty much confirmed that is 100% a thing. But basically what I want to do is I want to share what I have learned, what has been happening to me during the grind, and what I've been doing lately to actually replenish my bucks after pretty much, I would say 80% of them completely disappeared and stopped coming back. I'm gonna share that with you in this video, and yeah, let's get into it, guys. So basically, when I started this grind, you guys, I had like 30 zones, and the first like 200-300 kills, everything was perfect. I had bucks at like all my zones. It was fantastic. Everything was unicorns and rainbows. And after 300, 400, 500 kills, I started to notice that my bucks weren't coming back at a lot of the zones, or they were coming back really late, or does were coming back instead of bucks. I had a lot of the time I would kill a couple bucks, come back the next time, and it would just be does. It would look as though, and it became more and more obvious that was what was happening. An example is like I'd have a zone where I had like 5 does and 2 bucks, and I would kill the 2 bucks, come back, and all of a sudden I had 7 does, and then I would kill like 3 of those does and come back again, and like I'd have 2 bucks again, or one of those does that I killed was all of a sudden a buck. And this has been happening throughout this whole grind. I know that I killed a couple bucks, and then I come back and I got a couple more does that weren't there before, and vice versa. So that is definitely a thing. But basically what I really want to touch on here is I got to the point in my grind when I got to like 900 kills. I got to the point where I had 30 zones. And it was to the point where like 6 or 7 of my zones actually actively still had bucks. It went from, getting 50, 60, 70 kills in a stream to like between 15 and 30. And it just got to the point where it wasn't fun anymore. It didn't feel like good content. I wasn't having fun doing it. So we kind of got away from the whitetail grind. And then I wanted to get back into it because I'm like, well, hey, man, I got like 1,000 kills into this grind. Maybe there's something that I can do to fix this. I had heard from people saying start wiping the zones that only have does, and see if they come back. And I had done that a couple times. I had wiped this zone up here in the top left and the zone in the top right. I had wiped both of those because these both turned into single doe zones. And I actually I know I got my first diamond of the grind I got here. I think I got one of my diamonds here too. And these both turned into single doe zones. I actually got one of my diamonds there as well. That also became a single doe zone, which I have now actually wiped, and I've completely taken away the tent and the tripod. That became a complete oof, and that's gone. But anyways, so I wiped these 2 first, and they both actually came back in the same spot as only does. So I was like, well, okay, that doesn't work. The zones came back, and they came back in the same spot, but they're still only does. So I'm like, well, what can I do? So I started just wiping. If I felt like I had seen does only at any zone where I'd visited there like 20, 25 times ish, and had still only seen does, I would wipe that zone. And that's an important thing to keep in mind. There were a lot of times where I would visit a zone 10, 15, 20 times with only does there, and then all of a sudden the bucks would come back. I think the maximum amount of times that I went to a zone that only had does and then actually saw bucks there was probably like 20 visits. But there were a lot of times where it would be super delayed, and it just kind of, at that point, it just kind of feels like the bucks are just taking a really, really long time to respawn. But anyway, I started deleting a lot of my single doe zones. Mushroom Lake was one. A lot of these little lakes started to only have does, and I started wiping them, and then I started looking for zones, hoping that I would get new zones. So my thought process was, okay, if I delete these zones, maybe they'll pop up somewhere else as a brand new fresh zone with bucks. And sure enough, I deleted 7 zones, and that same day I had 7 new zones pop up. I had 5 new zones in the Belmont Lake district that I know for sure I didn't have before. I had one pop up here. I know I didn't have that zone before. And I had one pop up here as well. I know for sure I never had a zone there. And yeah, and then I had another zone pop up here that I know I didn't have before. And then today we found a zone up here, all with bucks. All of these zones showing up out of nowhere after wiping the single doe zones. Showing up with bucks, fresh zones. So, and another thing to show you guys that I want to show you that just happened recently is in Sheila. This lake became a single doe zone, and I had a zone down at the south side. This one came back at the same lake, but up in the north. This actually spawned with 7 does and no bucks. I killed 3 of the does, checked again, and now it came back with 2 bucks. So 2 of those does that I killed came back as bucks. So that's what I currently have here is 5 does and 2 bucks, and it started as 7 does. So there you go. So basically, I guess what I'm saying is my new strategy now for replenishing my map with whitetail bucks is keep an eye on your single doe zones, mark them on a map. As soon as a zone becomes only does, mark it down, count the amount of times that you're visiting that zone when it's only been does, give it like 20 visits, 15, 20 visits, whatever you want to do. If you want to wipe it after 10, do it. But I would give it 15 to 20 visits and then wipe that zone and do it with all of the zones that you're having that issue with. And you're going to get zones popping up in your map that you didn't have before in areas that you didn't have whitetail zones, and they're going to have bucks. So basically that's been my strategy. It seems to be working. I'm going to keep hunting those zones until they turn into only does, and then I'm going to wipe them and I'm going to rinse and repeat. And that's going to be the strategy. And honestly, it seems to be working. It's working so far. I'm getting like 30 to 40 kills again during the streams, and I'm super stoked. And I wanted to share that with you guys, and I hope it does help you guys out. Hope it gives you guys some hope. Those of you that I've heard from so many people that are giving up on the grind because most of their zones are not respawning bucks. Hopefully that gives you guys some hope, gives you something that you can try anyways. Maybe it'll work for you, maybe it won't. I hope it will. Let me know in the comments. If this video helped you out at all, drop a like on it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.